Hi, Jenny.
Hey, Kurt.
Okay, before we launch into that, so Ezekiel 9, 10,
Yeah.
11, it describes something. So if we start off with Ezekiel 8, which is actually Ezekiel chapter 1, and we also do recognize that there's a problem in our modern, it says 1, and then it goes right into Ezekiel's vision,
hmm
which happens in the 30th year. But
hmm
it makes it seem like like that's the first thing he experiences.
Yeah.
And then he also makes the claim, like I saw in the valley at Chebar, which is why I think whoever put the scrolls in that order must have thought, well, must be what he's referring to, is this event that happened 30 years after his captivity. So we'll put that at the beginning, right? And it's not the way it happened.
Like it's
So
a location stamp. Like, because it happened here, it must be.
right, but everything happens to Ezekiel there because that's where he's held in captivity, right? So
That's
I
what
guess
gets confusing because he's here by this river, but then in these visions, he goes different places. So
right.
you're right. That gets confusing.
Right. So let's talk about this temple over in Israel. Can we
Yeah,
talk about this for a second?
of course.
When I say the temple in Israel, what are you thinking?
That it's not where they say it should be, that it's the location's wrong, that we don't have the Levites, that we have a promise for a temple at some point, but Yah is not, like, his presence is not in that location right now. So I guess I'm expecting to see something like the Israelites had with the pillar of cloud, pillar of fire, like something you could know, oh, look, Yah is right there. Like that.
So we read last week Ezekiel 8, which is actually 1, and he's making a couple of statements, quite a few statements, but he's saying that this jealousy that's coming on my spirit, this is Yahuwah speaking, that it's going to cause me to leave. You guys are going to
Yeah.
force me to leave because
Well, they
you
hadn't kept
what?
any of his promises. They
All
had
right.
run amok for how many generations? And he's been promising it since they entered into covenant. If you don't do this, then destruction's coming. And mercifully, it's waited till here in Ezekiel's day. And Jeremiah talks about it. This is going to happen. Isaiah even. And it's like all the prophets seem to be talking about, you guys have a chance here. Are you going to turn back? Are you going to realize your ways are disgusting, fix it, and turn to Yah? Or are you like opening the door to destruction?
And it seems like they have this attitude of, well, he's not here anyway, so
Yeah,
and he just bailed on us, right? Instead of
yeah.
looking inwardly and saying, what are we doing wrong to cause this? And it seems to be not just a problem of those people, but a human problem altogether.
Oh,
We feel as if our God owes us a kindness. That's not true. It's a
and
two-way street. It's a relationship. If
yeah,
you want to be treated well, then you got to treat him well. And his ways of, well, how do I know I'm treating him well? He tells you how to treat him. He
yeah,
tells you how to respect him, how to love him, how to worship him, how to be one with him, how to be Israel. And it is escaping these people. Now we read in that piece that is linked in the description of the last video that you have Jeremiah, you have Ezekiel, and you have Isaiah. They're all contemporaries. They're all in the same place, pretty much, or near the same place at the same time. And they're covering an age spectrum like Ezekiel's 25, right? Isaiah's kind of older. I think Jeremiah's older too, but like it doesn't matter what generation you're in. This is being said to you, period. Like you leaders are messing up. So what I've heard about the temple, I don't know. There's this group called Temple Institute in
hmm
19. They started in 1987. So what is that? 37 years, and people feel like there's something about a third temple being built in Israel, and I want to help them, so I'm going to give my money to them. so that they can build this thing faster. So I'm on Wikipedia right now. It says, here's what the Temple Institute has to say. The Temple Institute is an organization in Israel focusing on establishing the third temple. Its long-term aims are to build the third, and this is the problem, Jewish temple. And there never was a first and second Jewish temple.
You'd rather use the word Israelite, right?
Yeah, I guess. But the idea of Jewish didn't exist.
Well, why don't we call it Yah's temple? Like if it belonged to him, wouldn't it be his temple, not a certain one tribe? Right. It should be the whole nations.
Its long-term aims are to build the third Jewish temple on the Temple Mount, which, as you correctly state, the Temple Mount is not the site of the original temple. It was in the city of David. You can research that. Yeah. That Temple Mount is where the Romans stood guard. They wanted to be able to be above the temple and see what they're doing, because if your system of worship takes over, then your ability to no longer be ruled by somebody, like, they're concerned about it. So we want to see what's going on in that temple.
Sure.
Right? And then, so the Temple Mount, on the site occupied by the Dome of the Rock. Again, that's where the Roman Antonia Fortress was. And to reinstate animal sacrificial worship, which when we get later on into Ezekiel, we'll see that's definitely coming back. Yeah. It aspires to reach this goal through the study of temple construction and ritual, and through the development of actual temple ritual objects, garments, buildings, plans suitable for immediate use in the event, condition, permit its reconstruction. It runs a museum in the Jewish quarter of the old city of Jerusalem. It was founded and is headed by Yisrael Ariel and current Director General David Schwartz. And we're going to find out something about this temple. Not that one that they're trying to build. A, it's in the wrong place. B, it's being built by the wrong hands. And C, the most important part of this temple is Yahuwah's spirit occupying it.
Right.
And we're going to see here in Ezekiel, he leaves. He leaves. He told us in Ezekiel chapter 8, hey man, you guys are causing me to be jealous, and you're going to force me to leave. That was in chapter 8, which would have been chapter 1. See what he has to say about it, man. Like, is he there? Is he there?
Well, and what's the point of having a building as awesome as it could possibly look, even if you think it's functioning, if his presence isn't there? Like, what is the point? Because that was the whole point of the temple, that I could dwell with my people. My people will be my people. I will be their God. And if he's not there, really, what is the point?
Yeah, I don't know. I struggle to figure out what is anybody supporting in that effort. Yeah. It's void of the Almighty himself. He left. He ain't there.
But don't we delude ourselves into feeling good about it, thinking, oh, I'm doing this great cause, instead of, oh, wait a minute, what do his words say? Maybe I have some homework to do here.
So this is on the heels of Yahuwah giving this warning over and over again. And then he shows his prophet Ezekiel. It's almost as if it's a witness, a human witness. Son of man, come check this out. This is what they're doing. This is why I'm going to do it, right? Because, well, you'll hear Ezekiel. So I'm beginning Ezekiel chapter 9 right now. Yahuwah orders the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. Then I heard Yahuwah call out with a loud voice. He said, come here, those who are going to punish this city. Each of you should bring your weapon with you. So 6 men came from the upper north gate. Each one brought a deadly weapon with him. Among them was a person dressed in linen, who was carrying paper and pen. The men came in and stood by the bronze altar. Then the glory of Elohim of Israel went up from the angels, where it had been, to the temple's entrance. Yahuwah called to the person dressed in linen, who was carrying paper and pen. Yahuwah said to the person, go throughout the city of Jerusalem and put a mark on the foreheads of those who sigh and groan about all the disgusting things that are being done in the city.
Mhm.
Then he said
So let's talk about that.
Yeah, okay. I mean, this is such a big point to talk about.
This is a huge thing. Yes. So what an incentive to mourn over these abominations or things that aren't right, or your leaders, or, just grieving that we're not righteous people. That's a huge deal. And then those are the people that are marked that are not going to be. Such a different story than we've been told.
It's this whole mixing idea thing that just gets us into trouble.
So,
these leaders that we just read in Ezekiel chapter 8, right? Which is 1. I won't keep saying that, though. You can figure that out. Ezekiel chapter 1, which is 8, which is 1. These people, like the first thing he says, come, son of man, dig in these walls and see what these people are doing. And if you remember your second commandment, right, have no image, right? Have anything at all, ever, anywhere. Don't do it. Second commandment, you shall not make for yourselves an image in the form of anything in heaven, above, or on the earth, beneath, or in the waters. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. And there he just told his angels, hey man, go mark the people that are lamenting the fact that they aren't doing what they're supposed to do. But
yes,
if you recall, he climbs to the wall and sees all these different images of all these animals being written on his temple.
They had been worshiping other things.
Right.
It's so disgusting.
Well, I have an image and I'm not bowing down to it. I'm not worshiping it. It doesn't mean that to me. It doesn't matter what it means to you. How many times does he have to say it? Just we become like Israel of the old, man. Let's become the Israel of the new, who says, these people who are going to get marked on their forehead, I want to be those people.
Right. Incentive to mourn. And then also, who is doing that marking? I'm so glad you mentioned it's an angel. And in my footnote here, it says it's possibly Gabriel. I don't know. But that those people that he had, I think it was 6 men, right, that were summoned. But these are the entities that are over Jerusalem. Like they're appointed over the city. And I think I had missed that the first few times I've read this. Like this isn't some army he's calling in. It's like his own forces not only just marked the good people, but are going to actually destroy this. And that they begin at his temple.
So when Yahuwah says he's going to do something, he's not mincing words. There's no debating with him. There's no no, he'll forgive me. Dude, stop kidding yourself. That's straight from the depths of hell, man.
We forget how sovereign Yah is. Here, through generations, he had promised. And he'd been super merciful. And here we finally have, this is it. This is where the destruction happens. And we as people just naturally assume, oh, he doesn't really mind. That God is so great. He's not really paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm just this little person over here. It doesn't really matter. It really matters. And
he's a God of love, right? He loves me.
He does love the righteous. That's the problem we've had. We've had the wrong definition.
Okay, so I'm going to read in, this is verse 5, right?
Okay.
Well, we'll start back and forth. Yahuwah said to the person, go throughout the city of Jerusalem, put a mark on the foreheads of those who sigh and groan about all the disgusting things that are being done in the city. And what does yours say instead of disgusting? It says...
abominations.
Abominations, okay. Then he said to the others, as I was listening, follow him throughout the city and kill. Do not have any compassion and do not feel sorry. Kill old men, old women, young women, and children, but don't come near anyone who has a mark on him. Start with my holy place. So they started with the old men in front of the temple. He said to them, dishonor the temple, fill its courtyards with blood, with dead people, and then leave. So they went out and killed the people of the city. As they were killing people, I was left alone. So I immediately bowed down and cried, Adonai Yahuwah, will you destroy everyone who is left in Israel while you pour out your anger on Jerusalem? He answered me, the wickedness of the nations of Israel and Judah is terrible. The land is filled with murder, and the city is filled with wrongdoing. They think that Yahuwah has abandoned the land and that Yahuwah doesn't see, but I will not have compassion or feel sorry. I will do to them what they have done to others. Then the person dressed in linen who was carrying the paper and pen reported, I did everything you commanded. I just read that verse and I'm like, wow. Dude, this is what it means to fear the Almighty God. He says it, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Guys, if you worship other things, I got to wipe you out. I got to take you out. So let's talk about Ezekiel chapter 10. Do you mind reading this?
Okay.
Because this is... There's no way any temple being built in modern day Israel is of Yahuwah. And how do I know that? We're going to see right here. I'm going to prove it to you. The most important thing for it to be a temple of Yahuwah is he is present in it.
Yeah, for sure.
Without him, it's irrelevant. It doesn't exist. All right. Ezekiel
Chapter 10. Then I saw that, behold, on top of the expanse that was above the heads of the cherubim, something like a sapphire stone, like the appearance of the likeness of a throne, could be seen over them. Then he said to the man clothed in linen, come between the Gilgal, or Galgal. I don't know what that word is. What do you have?
I said go between the wheels under the angels.
Oh. I don't have the wheels.
Oh, okay.
And fill your cupped hands with fire coals from among the cherubim and throw them upon the city. He entered before my eyes. The cherubim were standing to the right of the temple when the man came, and a cloud filled the inner courtyard. Then the glory of YAHUAH rose up from upon the cherub and rested upon the threshold of the temple, and the temple was filled with the cloud, and the courtyard was filled with the glow of the glory of YAHUAH. And the sound of the wings of the cherubim was heard up to the outer courtyard, like the voice of El Shaddai when he speaks. It happened when he commanded the man clothed in linen, saying, take fire between the Galgal from between the cherubim, that he came and stood near the Ophel. The cherub stretched out his hand from between the cherubim to the fire that was between the cherubim, and he carried it and put it in the cupped hands of the one clothed in linen. Then he took it and went out. There could be seen on the cherubim the form of a human hand under their wings. Then I saw, and behold, there were 4 Ophanim beside the cherubim. One Ophan, the Ophanim, was the color of Tarshish stone. As for their appearance, there was one likeness for all 4 of them, as there would be a wheel within a wheel. When they went, they would go toward their 4 sides. They did not turn as they went. For whichever place the head faced, they went after. They did not turn as they went, with their whole body, and with their backs, and with their hands, and with their wings. The Ophanim were full of eyes all around, for all 4 of the Ophanim. As for the Ophanim, they were called the Galgal within my earshot, Each one had 4 faces. The one face, the face of the cherub. The second face, the face of a man. The third, the face of a lion. The fourth, the face of an eagle. Then the cherubim rose up. It was the YAHUAH that I had seen at the river Chebar. When the cherubim would go, the Ophanim would go next to them, and when the cherubim lifted their wings to rise from upon the surface, the Ophanim did not turn away from beside them. When they stood still, and when they rose with them, for the spirit in the YAHUAH was also in them. The glory of Yahweh went out forth from the threshold of the temple and stood upon the cherubim. The cherubim then lifted their wings and rose from the surface before my eyes as they went forth, with the Ophanim opposite them, and it stood at the entrance of the eastern gate of the temple of Yahweh. And the glory of the God of Israel was upon them from above. This was the YAHUAH that I had seen beneath the God of Israel at the river Chebar. I realized they were cherubim. Each one had 4 faces, and each one had 4 wings, and there was a form of human hands beneath their wings. As for the likeness of their faces, they were the faces which I saw by the river Chebar. Their appearances were the same as theirs. Each one went in the direction he faced.
Okay, this is going to 11. Then the Ruach lifted me and took me to the east gate of Yahuwah's temple. It's the gate that faces east. Okay. 25 men were at the entrance to the gate. I saw among them Azur's son Jazaniah and Benaniah son Pelatiah. They were leaders of the people. Then Yahuwah said to me, Son of man, these are the men who plan evil and give bad advice in the city. They say it's almost time to rebuild homes. This city is a cooking pot, and we're the meat. So prophesy against them. Prophesy, son of man. The Ruach Yahuwah came to me and told me to say, this is what Yahuwah says. You are saying these things, nation of Israel, but I know what is going on through your mind. You have killed many people in the city and have filled its street with corpses. So this is what Adonai Yahuwah says, the corpses that you put in the middle of the city are the meat, and the city is the cooking pot. I will force you out of the city. You are afraid of swords, so I will bring swords to attack you, declares Adonai Yahuwah. I will force you out of the city. I will hand you over to foreigners. I will punish you. You will die in battle. I will judge you at Israel's borders. Then you will know that I am Yahuwah. The city will not be your cooking pot, and you will not be the meat in it. I will judge you at Israel's borders. Then you will know that I am Yahuwah. You haven't lived by my laws. You haven't obeyed my rules. You have followed the standards set by the nations around you.
So here he's dealing with those false prophets.
And also everybody who was following them. He's sending his angels, 6 men, to go kill them. Kill everybody. Don't leave anybody.
Other than those he had marked. Yeah.
While I was prophesying, so verse 13, while I was prophesying, Benaiah's son Pelatiah died. I immediately bowed down and cried, Adonai, will you completely destroy all the remaining people in Israel? The Lord promised to gather Israel from the nations. Then Yahuwah spoke his words to me, and he said, Son of man, the people who live in Jerusalem are talking about your own relatives and about the entire nation of Israel. The people who live in Jerusalem say they are far away from Yahuwah. This land has been given to us as our own property. So tell them, this is what Adonai Yahuwah says. Although I sent them far away among the nations and scattered them among the countries, I have been their sanctuary for a little while among the countries where they've gone. So tell them, this is what Adonai Yahuwah says. I will bring them together from the nations and gather them from the countries where I have scattered them. I will give them the land of Israel. They will come and remove all the disgusting and detestable things that are there. I will give them a single purpose and put a new spirit in them. I will remove their stubborn hearts and give them obedient hearts. Then they will live by my laws and obey my rules. They will be my people. I will be their Elohim. But for those whose minds are set on following detestable and disgusting idols, I will pay them back for what they have done, declares Adonai Yahuwah. The glory of the Lord leaves Jerusalem. Then the angels raised their wings with the wheels beside them. The glory of the Elohim of Israel was above them. Yahuwah's glory left the middle of the city and stopped above the mountains east of the city. In this vision, from the Ruach Elohim, Ruach lifted me and brought me to the exiles in Babylonia. Then the vision I saw left me. I told the exiles everything Yahuwah had shown me. So the spirit of Yahuwah lifts up in his chariot and goes. There is no spirit of Yahuwah in that temple, because from this point until now, we have never, ever done what he said to do. All of a sudden, we're starting to. Small remnant, but
that's his promise to them. He says right there, I will give them an undivided heart, and I'll place a new spirit in them. I'll remove the heart of stone from their flesh and give them a heart of flesh, so that they may walk in my decrees and observe my laws and fulfill them. Then they will be a people unto me, and I will be a God for them. But those whose hearts follows the heart of their detestations and abominations, I will place the consequences of their way upon their head. The word of YAHUAH, Elohim. There's such a reaping and sowing concept there. Like what you do, he's promising you comes back on you. Like that's what you harvest when you're not following his ways. If you're not being honest, that's what you are getting back.
So if the mark on the forehead for the people who are lamenting how they're being taught, how their brothers and sisters are being taught, then I'm going to lament for Israel right now, because you are being taught lies. You're being taught lies, man. It's not like God doesn't see me, God doesn't know, God knows my heart, all this other crap. That's not what he says. That's not what he says, man. And you are now, because you can read, you're going to be held accountable for his words. And this idea that he can't see me, he doesn't care, he knows my heart, he's going to forgive me, is exactly what they said there. And he killed everybody. Everybody.
And specifically what they're mourning is the abominations that they are like surrounded with. And look at our culture today. We're surrounded with abominations, and it is taxing and like just discouraging, and everything is like you're wanting things to be restored, his people to be gathered, him to show up in his like restoration. Awesome. And that's what his promise is here. Even when they are in exile and they know that Jerusalem finally is being destroyed, like his promise is still there. He's going to regather his people. He's going to give them the actual land that he promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's huge.
I think the point of chapter 10, even though it was a tough read, okay, so you go 8, 9, and 10. This is what they're doing in this temple. 9 is like, okay, everybody's got to die. And then 10 is Yahuwah. He's not off somewhere, like up in heaven. He's like literally there observing it. He's in the midst of it, right?
Yeah, so think about when he came and met with Abraham. It's like, am I really going to tell Abraham what my plan is to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah? And he himself goes to visit. Is that city really as evil as I've heard? And we've been told a story about Sodom and Gomorrah, and yet they were starving people for sport. They weren't being generous. They were like literally not giving you food. So he himself was like, okay, yeah, they need to be destroyed, and did that. Like there wasn't any going back on what he had promised.
You know the word myopia? myopic vision, like horses. They put blinders on horses to keep them from looking to the side. Myopia means tunnel vision, right? You can only see one thing. And every time we see Israel mentioned in the scripture, and you may see in different versions it says Jewish, it's not. It's not. Israel's, again, I've said this 1,000 times, I'll say it again. Israel's a people scattered to the four corners of the earth, right? And probably, if you're alive on the earth, you are a descendant of Israel, because this is the promise to Jacob, to Isaac, to Abraham, that your descendants will be as numerous as the stars in the sky and the grains of sand on the seashore, right? So here we are. Here we are. Now we're accountable for these words because they were written down, right? So,
and it's such an open invitation, because even later on in Ezekiel, when he's talking about the tribes and they're getting land, they're strangers that if they settle in your land, he says they have an inheritance too. So it's like, if you're going to be his people, if you're going to keep his commandments, like, you're in. It's kind of easy and worth it.
So your pastors, your preachers, your this, your that are telling you that they're literally telling you whose stuff doesn't matter. You don't have to do it anymore. They don't have that kind of authority, and you're responsible for you, man. If you're going to listen to them, this is the God that I know, that I've read about since I came out of the church. My eyes were opened up, and I fear this one, man. He's not. You don't have to if you do what he says, but if you don't,
if you want to be his people, if you want him to be your God, it's kind of pretty clear there.